Before we introduce our guest of honor, I'd like to recognize a few of our other guests here with us this morning. I would like to recognize Jay Hinton, part of the CISD Board of Trustees. Starting down here on the end, we have Mr. Alfred Jones, who's the Crowley High School Athletic Coordinator. Mr. Chris James, who is our head football coach. Mr. Charles Lincoln, Crowley ISD Athletic Director. Dr. Trent Levette, Deputy Superintendent of School Administration. And he's my boss. Dr. Dan Powell, Superintendent of Schools. And everyone in the audience are current Eagles. Each of you are guests here this morning because, like Mr. Reasons once was, you are an Eagle student athlete. You represent Crowley High School as you compete not only on the field, but on the court and on the track, but you also represent CHS in your classrooms and in our community. Your Eagle pride and commitment to excellence makes me proud to be the principal of Crowley High School. Now the reason why we're here. This year, as part of the 50th Super Bowl, the NFL is celebrating the players and coaches of the past 49 Super Bowls and their high schools and communities that have positively impacted the great game of football. Gary Reasons was an all-around athlete who competed in several sports here at Crowley High School and earned 13 varsity letters from 1976 to 1980. He was an all-region linebacker and a first-team All-State tight end. He then earned a scholarship and enjoyed a stellar collegiate career as a linebacker at Northwestern State University. In 1984, Mr. Reasons was a fourth-round draft choice of the New York Giants. During his 9-year NFL career, he won multiple awards. But the highlights of his career were 2 NFL championships with the Giants in Super Bowl 21 and Super Bowl 25. Mr. Reasons is here today to make a very special presentation to our school and tell us more about how he went from playing football at Eagle Stadium all the way to the NFL and eventually 2 Super Bowls. Please join me in welcoming Gary Reasons back to Crowley High School.
Thank you, Mr. Gillies. It's great to be back at Crowley High School, folks. I look forward to sharing a little bit with you about, but really, I'm proud to announce something here, and this is really going to take this as an athletic group. You'll hopefully this will resonate with you. So athletic programs like the one here at Crowley High School, their goal is one thing, is to make great student athletes and make people like yourselves wonderful in the communities, and I think that's really what this is all about. And so I have the opportunity now to present a very unique award here to the school, just commemorating what I was able to accomplish because of my start here and then what followed. So, Mr. Gillies, I'm proud to announce that the NFL is adding Crowley High School to its Super Bowl honor roll, and as part of this honor, the NFL is presenting this golden football. We'll get him out here. We're going to present this golden football to Crowley High School, and the inscription reads, Crowley High School in Crowley, Texas, and Gary Reasons are part of Super Bowl history, Super Bowl 21 and Super Bowl 25. I have one more thing to share. It's kind of a big piece, but I'm going to take the cover off of it here. This is for Crowley High School. Okay, that's cool. Are you guys ready to have some fun today? I know you're athletes, so you're coachable, right? Everybody in here has the ability to be coached, and that's what sports gives you, the chance to learn from others and take that tutelage that you have and use that in your everyday life. So let me just look in the audience here. I can't really see everybody because of the lights, but Does anybody grow up on Meadowview Drive? I can't see. I first came to Crowley, Texas in 1973. My family moved here. It's pretty cool. I remember coming into town, and the sign coming into town, it read, Crowley, Texas. Population 508. That was a lot of people, right? But it wasn't a big town. And when I left after 1980 in my senior year, the population read 2,262. I missed the sign coming in today. Did somebody move it? A lot of things have changed in Crowley since I was here, and so that was one of those things. So I asked if you all were coachable. I want to see if we can everybody get on the same team. So I want everybody to just kind of think of a number between 1 and 20. Don't tell anybody else what it is. You're going to do a little exercise here. Okay, so you've got your number. Remember that number that you started with. So multiply that number by 2. Everybody good? Now I want you to add 10 to it. Very good. Real quick now, I want you to divide it by 2. Cut it in half. All right? Now I want you to subtract the number you started with from the number you have now. The first number you started with, subtract that from here. Everybody good? Now I want you to multiply that number times 10. Don't tell everybody. Don't tell your numbers now. Now I want you to add 5 to that. So I'm going to test everybody here. If your number that you have now is greater than 25, please stand up. All right, if your number that you have is greater than 30, please remain standing. If it's greater than 40, please remain standing. If it's greater than 45, please remain standing. If it's greater than 50, please remain standing. And lastly, if it equals 55, please remain standing. Hey, we're all on the same team. So that's pretty fun, right? We're on the same team. You can sit down now. So I actually remember this auditorium from the time that I was in school. I started at Crowley in 1976, and this auditorium we had a chance to use and do our senior show up here and everything. So it's the school has changed quite a bit. The community has changed quite a bit. I want to take a little bit down kind of a memory lane, little memory lane here exercise for me to show you a few things about what my career has been like. So you see all this? You know what this is? I look a little different, don't I? Back then it was just long hair, 1970s, early 80s. That was kind of the mode back then for us to be in school. I was fortunate enough to do pretty well in class, and Miss Gilmore's out there, so she knows about. She actually led that group, right? There you go. You know, class is important, guys. You know, as much as athletes, you know, you think that things get in the way of your athletic ability and what you're trying to do in sports, but really having a great purpose in school to give yourself the knowledge that you need to be able to succeed in life starts here. It actually started back in elementary school and junior high school and on here at the high school, but really the academic side of it is really first and foremost the most important thing that you're going to take away from your memories here at Crowley High School. Athletically, I did some great things, you know, and Mr. Gillies talked about that, but you know, I played in my sophomore year, I lettered in 5 sports. That's kind of rare. Football, basketball, baseball, track. Who would guess the other sport? Who wants to guess? All right. All right. I never played in one golf tournament until the district tournament. Went out there and helped our team with a few points. That was cool. So So Crowley High School was kind of a great start for me. I have a lot of great memories here, a lot of great friends. Some are here tonight, some are here today, and thank you for coming. And this has kind of set things in motion for me because that gave me a chance to get to college. I wasn't going to get to school probably without a scholarship, and I got so to Northwestern State. It's a Division I AA program. If you know anything about college football, the FBS level, which is the Football Bowl subdivision, and then you have 1AA class, which is now the FCS. So Northwestern State is a Division I AA program. It's in Natchitoches, Louisiana, and my wife is here, Terry. I met her in college, and we married my senior year, so got a great treasure coming out of school. But I had a chance to get there and play pretty well. So my career there really kind of gave me a couple of things. I really liked the facilities. It was really great, and they still are great today. If you don't know anything about Northwestern State University in Natchitoches, Louisiana, read about it, look at it. You may like to go there. It's a great campus, and I highly recommend it. I had a little success there, as you'll see. Really didn't plan that, really didn't have a map of an idea of what it was going to happen for me. It turned out that I was just a pretty good linebacker and a good chance to get on the field. I led our defense at Northwestern State from the time that I got on the field as a freshman, and got some accolades along the way. So, you know, I was first ever 3-time Division I AA All-American. That's a pretty unique honor, considering all the other players that had played at that level before. So I was the first one ever to do that. That's very proudful for me to be able to say that. Before I left Northwestern State, my senior year, they retired my jersey. They retired my jersey here at Crowley High School, somewhere around here. Number 34 from Northwestern State. Number 40 was Crowley High School. And so it's pretty good stuff coming out of here, having a chance for me to do well in school. So one of the things that they recognized in me was, you know, these honors and the chance to do so. I was among the inaugural class of Division small college players inducted to the National College Football Hall of Fame. So we had a very, very good group. Myself, Terry Bradshaw, Walter Payton were among the initial inaugural group into the Small College Football Hall of Fame. So to me, that's pretty impressive to be a part of that group, and it is still something that I cherish today. So when I got this phone call after this happened in 1996, by the way, I was sitting in my house in Houston, and I literally had gotten a Federal Express, and I go into my office, and I opened it up, and I had no idea this was coming. And I got this letter, and it told me that I had been selected to be induction for the College Football Hall of Fame. See me now, I'm a little emotional guy sometimes, but then I bawled like a baby. I really did. Because when you go into something like this, it really, it speaks volumes of what people think about what you've done in that space. So, one of the things that I took from Northwestern State is what you see here in the center of the screen. And this has really been the cornerstone for what I have been able to do post-career, and even during my playing career as well. You know, when you go to school, the chance to get that education and leverage that education beyond the playing field, beyond the playing days, this is what it's all about. Let me have a quick show of hands here of the student athletes in the room. How many of you are planning to go to college? Awesome. All right. I'm going to talk a little bit further about that here in a minute, but that's an exceptional goal. Doesn't matter how you get there, whether you're a student athlete or not. I encourage you to further your education, because as you get into the workforce and you get into the workplace, you're seeing requirements for good jobs, minimum that you'll have to have as a college education, and then you'll have a chance to get graduate degrees and master's degrees to really get senior executive level positions, and those are things that are be important to you. So I was able to get that and graduate with honors in 1984. That was actually 1984 was a really unique year for me, because that was my last year playing. Was 83 in the fall and the spring. Was a lot of things happening. I got married to my wife Terry. We actually eloped. It's kind of a strange thing. We eloped right in the middle of our spring session, or excuse me, our spring classes, and I had to go to the NFL Combine at that time as well. They did a banquet at Northwestern State and honored me by, it gave me a lot of those awards, but also putting that jersey up where nobody else could wear it, one of those things. So 1984 was pretty neat, and Terry and I had a lot of unique experiences because we were two young people from Texas and she's from Louisiana. Neither of us had ever been up to the Northeast where I wound up playing for the New York Giants. I was a 4th-round draft pick for the Giants, and we go to New York City, the biggest city in the country, and here we are, two country kids, basically, never been anywhere, and it was a daunting experience for both of us, but we acclimated pretty well, and we got along pretty well. So there's challenges out there for you, is what I'm talking about, and we experienced some of those. Don't be afraid of those things. You'll overcome them when you step out of these halls and have a chance to make your life as well. So when I got to the NFL, this was in 1984, and we actually started, the Giants used to be a doormat of a team. They didn't get the playoffs very often, had never been in a Super Bowl. Years ago, they had won a championship in the National Football League, but it's been a long time before they were actually be successful. So the draft class that I had come in with in 1984 really set things in motion for several years of success. And in 1984, we got to the playoffs. In 85, we got to the playoffs, and later on, we had some Super Bowl success. I want to show you a quick little video clip here of some of the things that I remember just before we get to the 1986 season. We were playing in the NFC Championship game, and if we win that game, we go on to Super Bowl 21.
Gary Reasons was a hard-nosed linebacker and a punishing defender against both the pass and the run. Drafted in 1984, Reasons knew he was joining a Giants team that would soon be on the rise.
When I came in '84, our team was growing. We're growing with talent. In '84, we got to the playoffs that first year. Kind of overachieved, I think, a little bit in the playoffs that first round. We got a win. Then the second year, in '85, we made that next step. We got to the playoffs and went a little bit deeper. And in 1986, we had a tremendous season, and it all culminated to a National Football League championship game to be played in Giant Stadium. And I remember that night vividly. I remember the opportunity to step out on the field, and all the Giants fans, that was the most impressive thing to me, the electric, the static that was in the air. And I still remember it. I still feel it today, a tingling.
Well, that was our fiercest rival, and it was a battle. And of course, the elements were so much a factor that day and wound up being a tremendous advantage for us, our ability to do things in the elements that Washington just couldn't do.
Keep the intensity and stay alert. Know what the hell down it is, know what the situation is, get in a huddle, get the call, and play hard.
So the Redskins will be going for it here on 4th.
The fans are going to get up into it now, and they're going to make it tough for Schrader.
Schrader hands off, and Rodgers is stopped.
Well, we won that game, and the way we played in a dominating fashion against the Redskins, we just set ourselves in motion for a great Super Bowl, and we actually did cash in, so that's the good news. But that was one of the best memories that I've ever had here.
That's pretty fun, huh? So winning that game gave us a chance to get into this game right here, which is what I'm going to show you next, Super Bowl 21. First Super Bowl ever for the New York Football Giants, and a chance to go to Pasadena, California for us to go. So we had 2 weeks to prepare for the Denver Broncos, and this is kind of a great experience for all of us. A lot of details that I could share with you about all the unknowns that we all went through, because none of us had ever been through a Super Bowl or a playoff game like that. As players, no one on our team had ever played in a Super Bowl. As coaches, none of our coaching staff had ever been there. You saw on the previous clip, our head coach, Bill Parcells. You might have seen the assistant coach there bending down, Mr. Bill Belichick. We had a who's who of a coaching staff back when I was playing with the Giants, who most of them are still in the business today and doing very, very well. So at the Rose Bowl here, this is in Pasadena, California. They've had numerous Super Bowls there, but for Super Bowl 21, This is our first Super Bowl, and when you have a chance to play in a game like this, the crescendo leading up to it that we had for a couple of weeks, no one gave us a shot against the Broncos because they were a high-powered offense. They threw the ball quite a bit, and they didn't think that we would have a chance to win that game. But our defense had a little something to say about that, and I think we came through pretty well. I want to share something with you, though. When you have a chance to play in a game like this, and you're in the locker room before the game, when you're preparing to go out on the field for the very first time in a Super Bowl, it's one of those times where you sit in your locker room, nobody talks, everybody's heads down, everybody's thinking about the game ahead. Most of us are doing something like this. We're reflecting on the people that helped us, where we came from, all those things that are meaningful. And that's kind of what happens here. So when you know that you're going to be introduced to the Super Bowl as a player and have a chance to share with this with about just 500 million people, it's pretty cool.
Now the NFC champions, the New York Giants. From Michigan State, linebacker number 58, Carl Banks. From Northwest Louisiana, linebacker number 55, Gary Reasons.
That was a great experience, and really it does, the reflection part of it makes you feel like you have a chance to win. You have to go out and win the game, and you got to play well and do so. And we actually had a great performance by our quarterback, and you guys hear him every single week in the NFL, Phil Simms. Phil was our quarterback back then. He set a record in the Super Bowl for completion percentage. He was the MVP of the Super Bowl, and he's done a great job as a broadcaster also, post his playing days for CBS. He's our lead color analyst for the NFL on CBS. And he'll be actually calling CBS's production of the Super Bowl this year, he and Jim Nantz. So look for that and look for Phil on there. But this championship was something that was pretty impressive for us. And what happens, what do you do when you win the Super Bowl? What do you get? One of those. That's pretty cool. I have it on up here, folks. I actually have two of them, so we'll get to the other one here in just a second, but Super Bowl 21 was a magical game for us, a chance to give the Giants their first Super Bowl championship, and we did it in pretty good style. We beat the Denver Broncos 39-20 in that ball game, and our team played exceptionally well. We really had a great ball game, and it was a fun experience for all of us. So you go from here to several more years before we get back to a Super Bowl. 1987, we actually had an NFL players strike, a work stoppage. 1988, 89, we didn't do as well. We had to wait another year before we got there. But I actually had a pretty good ball game in 1989, a chance to get us to the playoffs, and I played pretty well. Some of those games where you can just think back and say, hey, this was a game that I actually felt like I was at the best, at the top of my game. You'll get a kick out of this too.
Second and goal at the 2. Humphrey and Breton behind Elway. Low wham by Breton. Didn't quite get there.
I'm sure what the Giants are thinking of now, Pat, as they bring up third down here. There's Bill Belichick, who's the defensive coordinator of the Giants. They're thinking of that great goal line stand they had last week against the Eagles. And this is a thing that you have to do. You have to get penetration. You have to get lower than they get. You have to give them no place to go underneath and no place to jump.
Eric Howard took care of the underneath. Good penetration. Humphrey is the deep back in the eye. He didn't make it. Steve Diassi, who made a big stop last week, just made another one.
Now this is football down here. You get down here in the trenches, guys knocking around, bodies flying around. I tell you, the Giants are not going to be denied here. Steve Diassi was the guy who made that play. Last week, he was the guy who made the big play against the Eagles, number 99.
Elway asking for quiet. Don't forget he can roll out and likes to. It's Humphrey. Reasons. Like a shot.
That is great football. Gary Reasons on that drive made 3 of the best hits I've ever seen him make in his life. I've ever seen anyone make, and this is the best of the 3 best.
Wow.
Look at the determination. He reads run the whole way. He reads Humphrey the whole way. He takes off for the jump before Humphrey takes off for his jump. That is football.
And that was the great John Madden and Pat Summerall, who called a lot of the Giants games over the years during that time. So good memories for me and good chance to see these clips again. So that was actually labeled, it won an NFL award that year for photography for our Giants photographer named Jerry Pincus, and he captured that play in a photograph, and it actually was labeled the hit of the decade. And that video play was on the NFL all-time greatest top 10 hits of all time. They've kind of gotten away from marketing that way because of concussions and so forth, but that is still one of the best memories that I've ever had as far as a player. You know, earlier in the game, it was just an unreal feeling for me because I just previous to this fourth and goal situation here, I had tackled John Elway out in the middle of the field and had several other tackles on this same drive. That's kind of what John was referring to in the clip. So it was a special game for me and a chance for us to get to the playoffs. We won this game, and we went on to have a pretty good season, but not where we wanted to be. So as I talked about, that became the hit. It's known for me in New York whenever I go back. I mean, Giants fans are always talking to me about that play. Just like you guys reacted to it, just think of millions of people in the Northeast who saw that play on television as it unfolded in 1989. Many of them grew up with Giants football as part of their life, and on Sundays, that was what they remembered. So it's a great memory for Giants fans. So anytime I go back to New York area, New Jersey, Giants fans are always talking to me about this play and another one that I'll share with you in a few minutes. But it was part of our Super Bowl, our 1990 season. They put that on there as a clip for it. And so the hit became the start for the yearbook. And is our next clip next, Colby? Okay, so we'll show you another clip here real quick about a key play that I made to help us get to Super Bowl 25.
Of a yard, they'll have to punt.
You always have to find ways to win ball games. And Parcells, you know, he had something in his bag that he knew that could potentially work for us there.
4th and 2, and they'll have to punt. Landetta to Taylor.
You know, it's kind of that situation that we're on 4th down. We needed something to propel us a little bit differently, and that was going to be a fourth down opportunity for me to call a fake punt. I always would run by Parcells onto the field in a fourth down situation. So this time I run by him and he's looking straight at the field, and I run by him and he says, "Use it if it's there."
Fake punt, and it's going to work. It's Reasons streaking down to inside the 25. First down and much, much more.
That's the call they needed. That's the play they needed. They needed something to get them out of this. Bill Parcells came up with it.
The element of surprise is a great advantage. I've always told my players, I'm going to do everything I think gives us the best chance to win.
To be able to go out there and look at the assessment of this, and do I call the fake or do I not call the fake, I'm really putting the whole weight of our team and our season on my shoulders on this decision. And for me, it was an easy decision. The 49ers, if you count the number of players on the field, they played with 10 players on that play. So it was a gaping hole for me to run through, and me with my limited athletic ability needed a little bit extra room to get through there. So it turned out well, but for me it was an opportunity to make a decision, execute the play, and run through there.
So, Coach, when there's 10 guys on the field, you got to call the fake punt, right? You know, no doubt about that. So you got to go. So they actually had 10 guys, and the guy, his name Harry Sidney, who was supposed to be right there in front of me where he's supposed to line up, number 24 for the 49ers. He didn't get there, and well, hence we got a big play. By the way, I still hold the NFL playoff rushing record for most yards per carry in the NFL playoffs. Did you know that? It's a fluke, but I'll take it, okay? It's nothing to, well, somebody's going to get it, but not too bad for me. I was never the fastest guy. I'll tell you about that. And I get a lot of kidding still today from my teammates of their punt returner making a great open field tackler. I think he was the best open field tackler of all time. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay? So what do you get when you win that game? You get a chance to go to Super Bowl 25, and we got our second Super Bowl championship ring. And that really, guys, is something very special. So the Giants are very traditional in their thinking. And so the rings that we have are representative of our championships. The first ring that I have was a representative of the Vince Lombardi Trophy with one singular large football on it. The second championship ring that I have is commemorating our second Super Bowl victory, and hence the two diamonds on there. So very conservative. They're not like a lot of the rings that you see today. If you look online, you can just go to superbowl.com and you can see all of the Super Bowl rings. Some of them, I call them, they look like aircraft carriers because they're huge, they're so big. And I'd never wear two rings on my one hand at one time, but I'm wearing them just for display today. Because if you ever turn your hand sideways and you shake somebody's hand and they squeeze your hand, I learned a long time ago when I was wearing these two rings, I have no strength between my fingers and people crush your hand. So if you guys, I'm going to give you a little advance. Some of you out there, you may win a couple of rings. Don't wear them together, okay? Don't wear them together like that. Well, guys, I've had a very special career. It's been great to be an athlete. I had a great start at Crowley High School. Northwestern State was a great ground for me to grow as an athlete, to grow as an individual. I've taken everything that I've done from the playing field into my everyday life. And a lot of it is pretty simple. I've kind of stayed true to what I know. I know football. So in 1994, I finished playing in 92, but from 1994 forward till today, I've been a college football television analyst for ABC Sports, ESPN, and I'm now with Fox Sports. So 22 years I've been on television talking the game of college football. You'll see me today. Has anybody seen me on Fox Sports Southwest coverage of the Big 12? You guys ever see that? You watch the Big 12 conference? All right. Well, watch Fox Southwest. So I'm on the Big 12 Showcase show. I work in the studio over here in Dallas. So next fall, we'll kick back on because our college football season coverage is over. But I've been able to stay close to the game. And being able to be an athlete, I've taken things from my days there and being able to use them in my everyday life, and I'll use that. And I'm going to share some of that with you here in just a minute. So I'll have a couple of, niceties around you when you get to be an athlete and playing the NFL. They do all these nice little cards. But those two things in the middle right there really are door openers, and they're a mechanism for me to get into the business world and leverage, the championships. It's a great way for me to talk to people about sports as a way to communicate with people. So a lot of you guys out here, you talked about having a chance to go to college, and I want to visit with you just a little bit about that. Most of you are probably have, raise your hand if you guys have played any level of club baseball, club basketball, club volleyball. Raise your hands. Football camps, you name it. So those are all things that you're all involved with, but who's involved with those with you? Your parents. I have 3 grown children, and I've been through all of those things with my kids. And, it takes a commitment from your parents to help you along the way with all of that camp activity, with all of those extracurricular activities. And you need to really say thank you at some point to your parents if you've never thought about it, because they're taking their time, and when they could be doing something other than going to camps and things with you, or going to sit and watch volleyball matches and take splinters out of their rear end like my wife and I did for years with our daughters. But it's a great time, and it's a great opportunity. Most families who go down that path, they're taking dollars that they would have put towards something else like vacations, and those become your family vacations. So we experience that quite a bit. So all of you who have a chance, who'd like to go to college, how many of you out there have thought about playing athletics in college? Some level of athletics. Okay, great. So how do you get there? How do you become an athlete for a university? You got to do some soul searching, and I think you got to start in a couple of areas. One is you have to start with what is important to you academically. Okay, what schools actually are going to give you the chance to leverage and learn what you're going to need beyond school. You take a look at the National Football League. Don't think you're going to go to college and play in the NFL. Less than 0.5% of all college football players ever make it to the National Football League. It is rare. So just think of the 2 Super Bowl teams, 50 players on each team, 100 players in this year's game, from a country of 300 million. It's a really, really small number. So the athletic experience at school is really cool at college if you have a chance to do so. And it makes you part of something very special. You don't have to join a fraternity. You don't have to join a sorority. You're already anointed because you're an athlete. You're part of that community already, which is a very special community on any college campus. So getting to college, there's a lot of things and tools that you all have today that I didn't have access to back then, with grant and aid and different things from scholarships that you can apply for. But I talked about soul searching. What if you want to go to college and you want to be an athlete, there's probably a school that's out there that is willing to have you participate in their athletic program. It may take a little work on your part. It may take a little effort in getting the opportunity there. Not everyone's going to earn an athletic scholarship. In football in Division 1A, the FBS level, there's 85 scholarships per team. That's spread across 4 different grade classifications. So not many each school are going to have a chance to do that. In the FCS level, there's only 63 scholarships available in the football world. And you go to basketball and volleyball and all those things, it kind of diminishes. Now, depending upon what level of play you'd like to play at, this is where the realism part comes in. If you're a football player at Crowley and you become an all-district player, or you become an all-region player, or an all-county player, or even an all-state player, you're going to be on somebody's list because they're going to look at those athletes as an opportunity to get from a quality program. They know how to win. They know what a good program is all about, and they're going to take those type of players. They welcome them into college programs. So if you have some of those accolades and your goal is to go to college, you're going to possibly have some opportunities to do so. If you're not on those all-district teams, if you're not on those all-region teams, you're probably going to have to take a look at a program that may not be at that highest level, but at some level, Division II, Division III, NAIA, or other. But there are programs out there that are looking for student athletes that want to play in their programs and have played at a big school like a Crowley High School. So you have opportunities out there, and it takes a little work for them and planning with yourself and your family. What I tell people all the time to do is just get out a map and put a dot in it and say, how far am I willing to go in a car and drive to go to school? 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 10 hours? And you draw that big circle on that map, and you figure out where that is. And then from there, you can just find all the different universities that are in there, Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, and then you find out where you fit, be realistic on your athletic ability, and then you kind of map out where you potentially could go, but really take a strong look at the academics part of it for it, because that's really what you're looking for to get out of that experience at the collegiate level. So I encourage all of you to do that. It's a great life. The thing that you take away from athletics is really pretty simple. And I do this symbolically, and I talk to a lot of business and executive groups all the time, and I impart this with them. It's very simple, and you can take it away today. It's the word yes. Okay? Think of the letters Y over E over S. Yes. So Y, what does that stand for? It actually stands for WHY. Why are you doing something? What is your goal? What is your objective? What is your why? Okay? Well, that is what you're trying to achieve. The E stands for expectations. What are the expectations that you're going to have to do in preparation, learning, execution, and whatever it is to achieve your why? Y over E. And then the S underneath, the coaches will all appreciate this, is structure. Structure gives you the tools, the resources, the personnel, the training to meet your expectations, which in turn gives you the why. Okay? So let me give you a little example here. You guys all know what a field goal team is, or a PAT field goal team in football. What happens when the ball gets kicked through the post? What do the referees do? All right, let me see it. Let me see it. What do they all do? Everybody. Everybody, come on. Well, good. So you understand what they do, all right? So they have been taught to go on the field together. They practice that snap. They practice the hold. The kicker practices the kick. The offensive, the linemen learn how to mingle together and block appropriately. It's a coordinated group. So they have the structure from the coaching and the training. They have to meet the level of expectations. This guard has to block here. This wing has to block here. The snap has to be here. And they all together harmoniously work together. And when they kick the ball through the post and it goes through, what do we get? Raise it up. Raise your hands. Good. All right. So next time that you're watching a football game and you see those hands go up in the air, you think of Gary Reasons and you think, yes. All right? Take that with you and use it for whatever you do, okay? I've got just a couple of more minutes here, and I really want to thank you all for having me here. Mr. Gillies, thank you very much for putting this together. I want to thank the National Football League for sponsoring this Super Bowl 50 event. It's a great way to memorialize players like myself who have come through a community or in a town. In schools like Crowley High School, everybody starts somewhere. Somewhere, somebody out there is going to be special. You're all going to be special in something. You just don't know what it is yet. So think of it that way. Everybody starts somewhere. I'd encourage all of you to really stay in tune with and in touch with your friends, the people that you're in class with, your relationships that are going to endure over time. There's some things, some tools that we have now with technology that make that a little more easy with Facebook and other things that we have together and email. Heck, back in the 70s and 80s, we didn't have any of that stuff, so it's kind of hard. But now you guys have those tools to kind of stay connected. I encourage you to do so because your classmates that you go to school with, they should be your friends for your entire life, and I think that could be something special for you. I'm going to take about 1 to 2 minutes here and answer any questions. If anybody wants to ask a question, then we'll close this program out. Anybody have a question they'd like to ask real quick? All right, what do you got?
How many career tackles did you get?
I really don't know. And here's the honest truth. I don't know what my career tackle number was because it never mattered to me. How did we start this out? We started out with team. I was a team guy. I never worried about that stuff. It just took care of itself. Hello.
Did you play with Lawrence Taylor?
Pardon me?
Did you play with Lawrence Taylor?
He's asking if I played with Lawrence Taylor. And this is the honest answer that I give all the time. Lawrence played with me. Let me tell you a little story. Lawrence Taylor, if you don't know him, is literally the best defensive player of all time in the NFL. So when I went to the Giants, I got drafted by the Giants, and he's a linebacker. I'm like, why in the heck are they drafting me? They got this guy, and they've got other guys. When I got to the Giants in 1984, and I went to training camp, or mini camp in the spring, and Bill Belichick was our defensive coordinator and linebacker coach, and he's the head coach for the New England Patriots right now, and they're likely going to get to Super Bowl 50 this year. So that's kind of how the lineage is here. But when we had mini camp, and I saw our team together, the last day of mini camp, we came in after practice, and we're about to watch our film, and Belichick walks up and stands in front of the room, and he says, "Veterans, you guys are all done. You guys leave. You rookies stay here." So all the rookies are there. There's about 15 of us in the room. We're all excited to be there. There's draft picks, and there's guys that are free agents that have signed. So Bill has this unique way about himself. He's kind of a little arrogant. Have you guys seen him on air? Okay, he's a little arrogant. So he sits down behind his projector, kicks his feet up on the table, says, "Hit the lights," and he clicks on the projector, and he goes, "Guys, if you want to play football for the New York Giants, this is what it takes." So he turns on the projector, and this is a Lawrence Taylor highlight film of his early days in the NFL. And it is literally some inhuman activity that I'm watching because this man covered punts, kickoffs. He was an outside linebacker, rushed the quarterback. Literally on one play, I remember him rushing the quarterback, defeating the offensive tackle, going through a running back, swiping at the quarterback just as he throws the football, gets up, makes the tackle, strips the running back downfield 5 yards, picks up the ball, runs it into the end zone. Just inhuman things. Literally the best athlete I've ever seen and could have done anything. So he's a great player. You know, Harry Carson, who I played with inside linebacker with, number 53. Lawrence was a 10 or 11 time All-Pro. Harry is a 10-year All-Pro. Those two guys are both inducted into the National Football Hall of Fame, National Football League Hall of Fame. So our group in 1984, 85, 86, Carl Banks was an outside linebacker. Lawrence was an outside linebacker. Harry, Carson, and I played together. So our foursome of linebackers is recognized as one of the best of all time. So, and I had a small part in that. Those guys are really the good guys. So that's some fun stuff. Anybody else have any more questions, guys? Hey, this is a treat for me, a chance for me to come back to Crowley. A lot of things I have not seen here in a long time. Thanks for those who attended. I appreciate you coming out and doing that. I wish you all the best of luck in your high school. Oh, we got another question here.
Wondering if you ever thought you'd get this far.
Say again?
I was wondering if you ever thought you would get this far.
Okay, I was very simple growing up. I really wanted to get an athletic scholarship to go to school. My parents and family weren't going to be able to send me there, so that happened, and so I achieved that. When I got there, I said, I'm getting my education, and I'm getting this in 4 years because I'm not coming back, and so I decided that's definitely going to do that. I really had no goal of being able to play in the National Football League really as a young player. But after my sophomore year in college, my linebacker coach that year is a gentleman named Joe Jones. And Joe was, the year before, he was a scout for the Dallas Cowboys. And after it was announced that I made the All-American team, he called me into his office when I came back after winter break. He says, Gary, I'd like to talk to you. I'd like to talk to you about where I think you're at in your potential career and what's happening with you. So we talked about, making the All-American status. And here I am as a sophomore. I'm 21 years old right now, okay? Excuse me, no, I'm 20 years old. 19 years old, my goodness. I was a young pup back then. 19 years old, and I still have 2 more years to play in college. And he tells me, he says, Gary, he says, you had a great year, well-deserved to be an All-American. There's no doubt about that. But I just want to tell you what I think, is ahead for you. He said, not only could you play for the Dallas Cowboys, but you'd be their starting middle linebacker now. So that was, that's when they had Bob Brunig and a few other guys. You guys don't know these names, but a lot of guys that I looked up to as an athlete growing up. So to answer your question, I didn't really know, and I never really had that goal. It just kind of grew as time went on. The good news is I never got hurt. I'm one of the rarest guys to play in the NFL. I never had a surgery. I never had a major injury. I still walk and talk, and usually in complete sentences, which is a good thing. So that's good. Young man, you got a question?
Were you on varsity when you were a freshman?
Is there a reason why he's asking this question? No. Back then, they were pretty restrictive of guys playing on the varsity level. We had enough players, we had enough class to make out a varsity team. I did not play on the varsity. Our coach back then was a gentleman that I respect very much, a guy named Ray Sheftick and his family. They kind of set in motion. Oh, hi, Karen. He set in motion what we he set rules, and he wanted our group, and we had a really good team. 7th grade, 8th grade, we won our district both times, and he wanted us to stay together as a 9th grade group, so none of us moved up, and I could have been. He told me after, he said, Gary, I wish I'd pulled you up, but I couldn't do it because that was it. And so my sophomore year was the first year I played on the varsity with several other guys. But to answer your question, no, I did not play as a freshman. I played baseball on the baseball team and lettered in baseball as my freshman year. All right, guys. Hey, this has been wonderful. It's been a lot of fun for me. Thank you very much. Best of luck to you guys, and best of luck to Crowley High School. Bye-bye.